안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to Friday's edition of The Culture Wave. I'm Kwon So-ah in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects with a special focus today on K-entertainment, K-literature, K-movies, and more. All of that together with my co-host Bella Kim. Hello, Bella.
Hi, So-ah. Happy Friday, So-ah.
Happy Friday to you.
And happy Friday to everyone joining us today on The Culture Wave. I'm Bella, here to co-host and fill you guys in with the latest in K-entertainment, especially focused on K-pop today.
Bella, we had some significant snow falling in
Right.
Seoul and the surrounding areas yesterday. So are you a snow person?
Yes, I have to say I'm a snow person because I am from Canada, so I'm very used to snow. I still love snow till this day, but except for when I have to drive, like last night, it was terrible.
That can be a hassle, but you know what? You kind of look like a snowflake
Oh.
today. But for me, I think I like to watch the snow from indoors.
Oh.
So I think this weekend, for instance, will be a very perfect one to watch movies,
Right.
Which we have plenty of to watch for, because we're going to talk about the hot new movies released with our movie expert in our latter part of the program. But first, it's time for K-entertainment news.
Yes.
And Bella, you did hint that you've got plenty of news related to K-pop today.
Right.
So what is the first story we're talking about today?
The first story we're talking about is Blackpink member JENNIE. She has set a new milestone with her first full-length album, Ruby. The US music magazine Rolling Stone announced on its official website that JENNIE's debut solo album, Ruby, ranked 29th on the 100 Best Albums of 2025, marking the highest position among all K-pop artists. Rolling Stone praised the album, saying that it uses ideas that dominated 2000s and 2010s R&B-infused pop while modernizing them in intriguing ways. And along this, JENNIE was named #1 in Forbes Korea's Korean Idols of the Year 2025.
That is impressive. I heard that to become a Korean Idol of the Year, Korea Forbes or Forbes Korea calculates a number of indexes like fan voting and music streaming, but
Right.
also how much they are mentioned on media and social media as well. So
Like our show too, right?
yeah, of course, yes. And we do talk a lot about JENNIE,
I
right?
know.
So that's a very comprehensive index, so very impressive. But also what's impressive is about another member of Blackpink and another K-pop group. So tell us more.
That is correct. Blackpink's Rosé and BTS claimed top spots on Spotify's Wrapped 2025. This year-end chart shows key music consumption trends based on the most streamed artists, tracks, albums, and podcasts of the year. And in this year's Wrapped, Spotify released major rankings based on 2025 global and Korea streaming data. In K-pop, BTS ranked #1 as the most streamed K-pop artist globally for 4 straight years now. The most streamed K-pop track worldwide this year was 아파트 by Rosé and Bruno Mars, followed by Golden by Huntrix from K-pop Demon Hunters, and Who by Jimin. And speaking of Jimin, he also ranked #1 as the most streamed artist of the year in Korea, holding the top spot for 3 straight years. And Jimin's Who also ranked #1 as the most streamed song in Korea this year. So Jimin definitely got a lot of love in Korea especially.
Definitely. So congratulations to all the big K-pop artists
Yes.
there. And the last K-Enter story for today is exciting news for domestic A-Hope fans. So we're staying with K-pop, right?
Yes.
Throughout the K-Enter today.
That's true. K-pop rookie boy group A-Hope will hold their first fan concert in Korea just 5 months after their debut. The group's agency FNF Entertainment officially announced on Thursday that A-Hope will hold a fan concert, Ao Foa, all-time heartfelt only Foha. Foa here refers to their fans, of course, on January 3rd and 4th at Jangchung Gymnasium in Seoul. And through this fan concert, A-Hope plan to present a special performance expressing their gratitude to their fans who have been shown steady support throughout the whole year. And the details of the concert tickets will soon be posted on the group's official channels.
Super exciting news for all the A-Hope fans. We had that debate on whether it should be Foha or Poha because it's kind of different compared when you compare it to the written the Hangul writing and also how you write it in English.
Right.
But we get it. It's the
Poha,
fans
Poha.
of A-Hope. Yes.
Yes.
And thank you very much, Bella, for those updates, and stick around.
Will do.
And now let's go over to our AI anchor Arang for more on the culture front. Arang?
Hello and welcome to your AI guide to the latest cultural updates from Korea. Here's our top story. Leading U.S. entertainment industry news outlet, The Hollywood Reporter, has named K-pop Demon Hunters director Maggie Kang and CJ Group's vice chairwoman Miki Lee to its list of the 100 most powerful women in entertainment 2025. The magazine said both are charting an optimistic path forward for the industry, driving box office and streaming success despite budget cuts and industry woes. It highlighted Kang's strength as a co-director and screenwriter backed by her solid background in story artistry, while describing Lee as one of the most powerful forces in Korean entertainment, praising her role in elevating Korea's film industry onto the global stage. The official pop-up store for Netflix's animated film, K-pop Demon Hunters, has opened in Seoul Seongsu-dong, bringing the movie's world to life in an offline space. The pop-up mixes immersive attractions with various fan participation programs, giving visitors plenty to explore. Fans will find an OST-themed zone and exhibition zones, along with playful events like stamp missions, character photo booths, and more. Netflix said the space was designed to allow fans to experience the film's universe firsthand, and hopes it becomes a memorable stop for visitors of all ages. The National Museum of World Writing Systems in Incheon, one of only 3 museums worldwide dedicated to forms of writing, has welcomed more than 1 million visitors for the second year in a row. The museum attributed the strong turnout to a wide range of programs that blend exhibitions with hands-on activities. It aims to break last year's attendance by offering an expanded lineup this month, including a permanent exhibition on the theme of records, and a special show marking the Bangude petroglyphs listing as a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage Site. That's all from me. Stay tuned to the Culture Wave.
There are special efforts being made to encourage book reading among teenagers and adolescents. In one particular project at an independent bookstore in Cheongju, Chungcheongbuk-do Province, adults anonymously prepay for books so that these young people can read free of charge. Jin tells us the story.
A notice put up at the entrance of this small independent bookstore says that adolescents can take books for free. It promotes a so-called I'll Buy You a Book project that was launched in February, where adults visiting the bookstore can anonymously prepay for books. Then, adolescents visiting the bookstore can take books for free up to the prepaid amount. The project began from a suggestion made by a frequent customer who wanted to encourage and help teenagers to read more.
I really liked that books became more accessible for them. Seeing the number of books they took gradually increase showed that these teenagers don't actually hate reading, they like it.
There is only one condition for this project. The adolescents need to come to the bookstore on their own, without a guardian, and choose the books themselves. The idea is to help them discover their own preferences without outside influence. The process itself has been shown to slowly restore the communication between generations that had faded over time.
I felt that there was a kind of disconnect between generations. But through this project, the students receive warmth from the adults' donations, while the adults feel that they are investing in the future.
Some say that being able to choose the books they want without worrying about cost truly feels like receiving a gift.
There are so many books I want to read, but I can't choose all of them because of cost. So receiving this kind of support feels like a gift. It's my first time experiencing something like this, and it's really nice.
Word of this project has spread through social media, and more than 30 books are being donated each month. This project of sharing that started in a small independent bookstore is opening doors to teenagers who want to read. 이은진, 아리랑 뉴스.
The year-end box office has become a fierce battleground, with major Hollywood sequels out since November, heating up the theater landscape. Joining the year-end competition are new K-movies that are making their presence felt with their own strategies. To delve deeper, we now connect with Jae Soh, professor and filmmaker at Seoul Institute of the Arts. Hello, Professor Soh.
Hi, Professor.
Hi. I'm here remotely, but nice to see you guys again.
Nice to see you here on the screen. Now, Professor Soh, the year-end box office energy is incredibly high this season, with mega titles like Now You See Me 3, Wicked 2, Zootopia 2, and even Avatar 3 to be released soon. So how do you think this blockbuster lineup is affecting Korean movie theaters?
Well, at first glance, it seems like, they're doing so well. Like, for example, Now You See Me is 1.29 million people went to see it. I think right now Zootopia is at the highest at 2.67 million. And even Wicked is like 820,000 people as of today. And as you know, Avatar 2, which came out during COVID in 2022, did over 10 million at the box office. So it looks like stiff competition, but I think what the other aspect of it is that it's bringing a lot of people to the theaters right now, and it's we're getting to be like holiday season pretty soon. So I think with the Korean sort of the movie theaters not doing that well this year, I think this is a boom that I think in some ways with the release of these new Korean movies coming out, they could really try to take advantage of all the audiences flocking to the theaters.
Mm-hmm. And among all these blockbuster or fierce competitions, there are 3 Korean films that are out, The People Upstairs, The Informant, and Concrete Market. And they actually all chose the release date or the premiere date as December 3rd. So what kind of niche strategy are these films kind of aiming for?
So as I was mentioning, the other films are, I think, Wicked or Zootopia. These movies are more general audiences, primarily, family oriented. So kids go to see it with their parents, things like that. But I think the programming for these movies that we're watching it's aimed much more for the older adult audiences. So they're more interested in thrillers, action, dramas, and social commentary, which is kind of distinct from the sort of like Zootopia type of, 4-quadrant movie. That's what we call it. It's like it excites everybody, all ages. But I think the Korean movies that are coming out is kind of a specific genre niche. So we have black comedy, action, and also like a dystopian sort of story. So I think it's targeting a certain demographic of Korean cinema-going audiences that are really into these movies.
And speaking of adult audience, let's go into the details of this specific movie called The People Upstairs. It's directed by Ha Jung-woo, and he also stars in the movie, of course. And this has been drawing attention. It's an R-rated movie. It's a psychological thriller, but I saw that it officially is categorized as comedy and drama. So I heard you watched it yourself, Professor Soh. Tell us more about this movie.
Yeah, I went to the 150 showing at CGV and I watched this movie, and it was actually, I was surprised at a lot of people there. So the film centers around 2 couples living in the same apartment, complex, but whose level of romance stands in contrast to one another. So the downstairs couple is played by Kong Hyo-jin and Kim Dong-wook, and then basically the upstairs is Lee Han-hee and Ha Jung, who's also the director of the film. So the story begins with the downstairs couple one day invites the upstairs couple because they make a lot of noise. I'm not going to go into the details about that, but basically, they start this dinner conversation, and they're really the man is about to sort of like give him a piece of their mind, but of course it kind of divulges into something really crazy. And this is actually a remake of a Spanish film called The People Upstairs. And this is Ha Jung-woo's 4th film. He started with a movie called Roller Coaster. Then he did Chronicles of Blood Merchant and Lobby last. And this, I think, is his best movie so far. So I think if you go watch this, it's kind of it's not really like comedy per se, like everybody's like breaking things or things like that, but it's definitely a black comedy that really talks about sort of modern romance today in 2025. So I really enjoyed the movie, and then the performances of Kong Hyo-jin and Ha Jung-woo and Kim Dong-wook. I mean, these actors have kind of worked with each other before, so you can kind of tell like this is a really good ensemble acting with just 4 people coming out in it. And I was laughing, and I think the audience was laughing a lot as well. And also, it's a stark commentary about sort of living in an apartment. It's basically in Korea, you don't really, get friends with people that live above and below you, and it's kind of like a social commentary about that as well. So, I thought it was really refreshing and super movie, by Ha Jung.
I'm really looking forward to that one, especially as you mentioned, some of these actors and actresses worked with each other before. And I think that Kong Yoo-jin and Ha Jung-woo chemistry is also really funny. I think more than a decade ago, Love Fiction was also a very great movie. So yeah, definitely something to look out for.
And we're going to talk about another movie that's kind of on the same genre, comedy, but a little bit different, related to crime. It's Informant, or 정보원 in Korean. It has already gained a lot of attention overseas because it was the opening film at the New York Asian Film Festival. And as a kind of a hybrid genre blending comedy and crime, expectations are very high, and I'm actually very looking forward to it. I'm probably going to go catch it in the theaters on the weekend. Where do you think the appeal of this work lies?
Well, it's actually the first time I think the actor Ha Sung-tae, which we've seen from Squid Game. He played one of the bad guys in the first season, and he's sort of the main actor in this movie, which I love. And he plays a former ace detective who lost his passion, drive, and investigates instinct after demotion. And basically, there's an informant played by Cho Tae-bong, like a Cho Bok-ne, and he's been earning blind money by providing critical information on major cases. So these lives kind of collide and entangle in this kind of like high stakes criminal plot leading to a crime action comedy. And I think right now it's doing pretty well. When it started, it actually hit number 2 in the box office. I don't know what it's doing now, but there are a lot of people starting to flock to see it. And just the fact that Ha Sung-tae always plays a bad guy. I love the fact that, you have this kind of tough character that's basically, sort of we're rooting for him in this movie. And a lot of the comedy is oriented towards, like, I guess, making fun of all the sort of like the detective crime movies that are out there. And I've found when I watched the trailer, it just seems like it's kind of beyond your expectation to watch these tough guys going at it, and there's a lot of like funny, sort of like almost like Charlie Chaplin slapstick comedy that's happening in this movie, and I think it really kind of ignited the imagination of a lot of audiences.
Now let's move on to something more serious. Concrete Market. This has sparked interest as a kind of expansion of the concrete utopia universe. Why do you think this post-apocalyptic genre is continuously resonating with the Korean audience? And what new angle do you think this new film does offer?
Well, it's sort of I guess, almost like a weird sequel to Concrete Utopia, which, it was sort of another dystopian situation where there's only one apartment left, in this one city, I guess, in Korea. And in this movie, Concrete Market, it's about sort of more talking about sort of capitalism at its worst. It's another dystopian thing where there's only like one apartment standing and then another market. And the actors Lee Jae-in, who's a terrific actress, and then Hong Kyung, who's like now coming in a lot of movies. He was in a Netflix movie recently called Good News, and that was really great. And so it's about the sort of the young people who survive despite hardships and disaster situations, and it's all about like, what I like about it is like people are, instead of money, it's all food, and it's usually like, in a tin, like can, like Spam. So they buy and sell goods, and there's a lot of bartering going on. But basically, in order to survive, you have to kind of like barter this new currency, and then all hell breaks loose when there's like a bad guy, sort of like the sort of like the evil sort of leader of this, that kind of like, Hong Kyung decides to kind of start a revolution in the movie. So it's everything that you would expect in a dystopian movie about, like, basically it's still a reflection of what Korea's like today, sort of in the vein of like Squid Game. So I think if you're into that kind of violent sort of, dystopian, looking at the kind of like the world in a very weird, twisted angle, I think this movie would be perfect for you.
Well, I've watched Concrete Utopia starring Lee Byung-hun, and what I really liked about that movie is you ask yourself those many questions. What would I do in that specific situation? What character, is very similar to me in that movie? Those are the questions that you ask yourself in that kind of situation, which we hope will never happen to us.
Oh, yes, definitely. And so we've talked about these 3 Korean films that are out now in the box office, and they all have different genres and themes that's going on. So what does this variety of genre experiments in the current position in Korean cinema have kind of at the end of the year?
Well, I think to me personally, I think it's kind of exciting because we're at this period where I guess a lot of audiences aren't going to theaters. And one of the reasons for it, everybody blamed the COVID sort of pandemic, but at the same time, the type of Korean movies that were coming out were really similar. A lot of crime-based movies, genre-based movies that were sort of the same thing over and over again. I think, Roundup series, for example, is like a good example of that. That's a successful movie, but at the same time, there are a lot of copy movies like that. But this time, the movies are sort of lower budget. I would say of the 3, Concrete Market's the biggest budget, of course, but it's a lower budget. It's much more niche in terms of what it's trying to do. It's also like comedy-based or action-based or about sort of like a dystopian future. And I think Korean cinema is like basically because it's struggling, it's starting to experiment with these kind of smaller stories that you can kind of expand on. So one of the great things about, for example, The Informant is that you have an actor who isn't usually an actor that you see as the main actor. And I think another problem with Korean cinema is always just the same group of people coming out as actors. So I think it's a chance to sort of other actors getting a shot at becoming, part of the sort of, I guess, the lore of Korean cinema and Korean celebrities. And I think this kind of new breed of storytelling is definitely, I think, sort of exciting the audiences. I think last year we talked about, Love in the Big City, movies like that I think much more niche, but at the same time, it's starting to kind of pick up in terms of audience, especially kind of younger adult audiences are really starting to understand, and older audiences also appreciate sort of the specialness of these movies.
Right, and briefly expanding on that, Professor Soh, you did mention that the cinema is struggling right now still, but especially not only because of the blockbuster-driven movies in the industry, but also OTT platforms, of course. So what direction do you think Korean cinema should pursue going forward?
I think in order for Korean cinema to really survive, we have to kind of take that tack where, the average budget for Korean movies are between 5 and 10 million. That's too much for, a production company to recoup the money just domestically, releasing a movie. So I think the budgets have to come down. And basically, as I mentioned before, we have to have more like actors, a variety of actors, kind of new faces that we have seen in a lot of, things like Netflix or Disney Plus or Wave, or Coupon Plus. Like you're seeing a whole bunch of new sort of generation of actors that sort of need to have a generational change. I love Lee Byung-hun too, but I mean, I can't watch him in every movie that's coming out. And also, I think the sort of the existence of the OTT platforms in Korea, like Netflix, they have the sort of the monetary power. So they're bigger budget movies. Like, I kind of mentioned earlier this movie that came out, I guess, earlier this year. It's called Good News. And that one also has Hong Kyung in it, who's basically in Concrete Market. And that's based on sort of a 1970s real event that happened where a Japanese airliner was kidnapped, basically hijacked and then taken to North Korea. So they kind of made like this black comedy version of this movie, big budget movie, but at the same time, it was on a platform that could kind of afford that. And I think so that combination of low budget filmmaking for the theaters and then sort of high budget filmmaking for more of the platforms is a better way to sort of make everybody kind of watch the movies and also create more people to come see the movies in the theaters as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, if anyone in the film industry needs new faces, we'd love to play as some extra figures maybe in movies. But thank you very much, Professor Soh, for your insights today, and see you next time.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
And thank you, Bella, as always. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back next week.
Yes, I'll see you back next time.
Thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave. Hope you have a culture-filled weekend, and we'll be back next week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Korea time.